Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of Astral Stew. Today,
Stew.
we don't have Stefan, but we actually
Again.
have a stew.
Oh shit! This is the first stew on the stew.
Oh God, I knew this was going to happen.
What's you?
And yet you came in.
Yeah.
I was prepared. I know, right? I was prepared.
You could dish it to us. Is it? No? Okay. Anyways.
Oh, cat. Can't keep up with you.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, it's been a good couple weeks since we last did an episode, 3 weeks or so. And it's been living life. And Stefan, of course, is now a father. And one could argue he was a father before she was born, but let's not get into those semantics. And
Unless it involves alien.
An alien, right?
Anything.
Right. I mean, aren't we all just
Never know.
hybrids? So, yeah. Anyways, so in lieu of Stefan, we have Stu. In lieu of Stefan, we have Stu. Yeah. So,
You gonna milk that one for all it's worth?
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a product of
Justifiably so. Justifiably so.
I'm a product of dairy farmers, so I have to milk it.
Oh man,
Is that how it's gonna be tonight? Is that the opening volley?
Yeah.
Is that really how you want to approach this? Okay.
It's been a long
Okay.
week. It's been a long week. So
I didn't know whether I was going to have my own screen or not, or just pop over one of his shoulders like a Muppet and just make a random commentary. And now I really don't know what to make of it.
Sock puppet commentary.
So in
Always
honor
elevates it.
Yes.
in honor of Toby, I'm gonna say
In honor of Toby. Oh, hold on. To Tobes.
I've been doing it without.
when in Rome. Or when in Josh's living room. So anyways,
When in Josh's living room, pinky out.
yeah. So I have two things that I've been thinking about for discussion on the stew. And I'll start with the first one. Do all animals, big and small, have chakras?
Depends on which school,
Mhm.
because there are different schools of thought. So we can't just say that one thing is correct for all of yoga or the branches that it has nowadays.
And the reason I got to thinking about it is I was watching this thing about exercises you can do. I think Stefan or you might have shared it on our messenger chat about like massaging your forehead or whatever to open your third eye. And it really got me thinking about cats and dogs, how they can see things that the rest of us don't see. Sometimes the spirit realm and stuff. Do they have a third eye? Is their third eye always open? Well, then that got me thinking, do they actually have chakras, and can their chakras get blocked? Like, would there be mechanisms to unblock their chakras?
First, I would say anything that can be imagined exists somewhere. Multiverse theory.
Yeah.
But just for me to jump all over this one, sorry, Stuart. I'm just like, and also not the end voice on this. It's popular thought that they have some, but they are not as advanced as our systems are. And that there's a funny little axiom that comes along working with like the heart chakra. They talk about that being the midpoint, so that's the human one.
Mhm.
All the others are still our ties to our animalistic self, and that once you hit that one and start working on those things, then you're really working on what it's like to be a human. So in that regard, in that hierarchy, they would fit together.
And do you think that there are other chakras that are only applicable to non-humans?
Certain systems. Oh, that's a great fucking question. Oh my god, dude. Hey, bravo for you. Because yeah, would their psychoenergetic like systems differ from ours?
Yeah.
Serious question.
They're not allowed here.
Oh,
No, go
not
ahead.
serious question, but so you're talking about different systems and whatnot. Most animals have, mammal or otherwise, okay, if it's a bird, it's got the arms or the wings. It's still got the 2 legs. Mammals, of course, 4 legs. We evolutionary speaking, we were on all four, and then became Homo erectus and so on, became bipedal. Would the chakras be the same on, say, an octopus?
A Neanderthal? Oh, an octopus. I thought you were going through the different species of humanity. Would they be different? But
no,
I mean,
a completely different species.
Octopodes are supposed to be interstellar. Yeah. Podes, I believe, or podes is the really correct one, but you can do the others.
I mean, I think octopuses or octopodes, as Santosh just correctly. I think they might actually be interdimensional.
I think that's what I was going to say. Intergalactic travelers.
They are unlike anything else on this planet. That's just one of the reasons why I brought them up. It's not just the 8-armed things. The fact that they seem to have no.
I would say they have at least spaces. 8, one for each limb. And how are we defining chakra as just a vortice of energy?
Yeah.
Or a connecting plane, or with me, it's more like levels of perspective, right? Like the ones in the genital have to do with the things that the genitals have to do with. The ones in the gut have to do with the psychosomatic things that have to do with the gut and the power and the will force and the courage and blah, 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 blah. You get feelings when you hit up, and then communication and thought, and then whatever is finer than thought that is accessible, because our bodies are really just the tip of the iceberg, really, our physical ones.
Right.
So that would be fascinating. Then, like after disclosure happens, I really want to know like what alien system would line up closest to the yogic chakra system. That's fast. I've never decided to ponder that before.
I'm definitely looking up later whether this has been researched by anyone, officially or otherwise.
Which one?
Yeah. Any of it, I guess.
Just the thought in general, like a life form. Okay, so you mentioned it's more of concept. The chakras related to genitalia would still be, perception. Okay, so again, back to not necessarily octopi, octopodes, aquatic life in general. So we have the throat chakra, just very close to our mouth. And not to be gross, for much aquatic life, the mouth and the anus are the same part of the physical organism.
Mm-hmm.
How does that interfere with the placement of the chakra? I'm just curious whether anybody has.
I feel it's more like a Legos problem, like however you decide to construct it, because also at the end of the day, and a lot of people don't talk about this, just there is no one chakra system. Everybody wants it to be the rainbow and everything. And all it is that you are putting a certain programming language, so to say, like into the system and saying work with this. So I think that my guess would be that there are probably beings out there that have energetic systems that are, let's say, beautiful in comparison to ours, more complex.
Right. I mean, I would say that if you think about the throat chakra, since you brought it up, Stuart, as being part of the communication center, everything communicates at some level. But I would imagine that if there is a chakra for all animal species that represents communication, it may exist different places. Animals that communicate solely in body language, it may exist as part of the body.
Just about the
animals that communicate telepathically.
Also,
maybe it's in the mind.
There's also the school of thought that everywhere that you bend, every joint is an actual little chakra, not one of the bigger ones in that system.
Right.
But as long as they have joints, they have chakras on that level.
So is that kind of like the major arcana versus minor arcana in tarot cards?
Hell yeah, that's a really good analogy. You are on fire tonight, sir. You are on fire.
I have to admit,
you done to him, Stuart?
I've done nothing, but I have to admit I missed the correlation there. Could you fill me in between the two?
So in a tarot deck, there are major arcana cards, which Santos, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they represent like big life things.
22 of them. Think of them like trumps in a game.
Oh, I got the core. You're talking about major arcana would represent the 7 major chakras in most schools of thought, if you will, perceptions.
Now it's like you're oh god, I don't want to lose the force. It's like you're asking to judge distance with another measurements, like you're applying another scale to measure distance. That did not come out of my brain like really well. I apologize.
But
yes,
but the correlation there is that the major arcana are the major chakras, and correct.
There are 22 major arcana cards, and generally there are like you'll see them 5, 6, or 7. Some systems work with 7. My lineage does 6, but it acknowledges the 7th, and actually there's other subtler ones there that are for different. There are different metaphysical ones that you can work with. So it's a beautiful.
I apologize.
System.
I'm a neophyte baby compared to you guys, and much of this, and Terra's definitely one of the areas where I just don't know a lot.
Well, and I would necessarily making a tarot comparison, but just more of a major arcana versus minor arcana. So it's just
their relationship to one another,
right?
And generally more just to keep kicking a dead donkey. You could consider the big ones more potent, more pervasive, as well. And that's either talking about big chakras, little chakras, or big arcana, little arcana. I think that was the correlation Josh was drawing as well.
Stefan's always kind of told it to me like your major arcana cards are like big life involving, entire path related cards.
They bleed out into your whole life, not just in one area.
Whereas minor arcana are like your daily mundane activities and how you kind of carry out your life throughout the daily activities.
And then just to be a fucker, whatever system you decide to practice and use is just as valid as that.
But along that line though, if you had your major chakras, they would be your whole life kind of big picture impacting, need to be in sync, balance, blah, blah, blah. But if you had one in your pinky joint, that may be only impacting the daily activity of clicking on a mouse or holding a cup of coffee.
Or if as above is so below, then you're churning the Milky Way with your knuckle.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? So.
Yeah, so minor chakras or major chakras, and there are minor arcana and major arcana.
Yeah.
I still say brava. I'm as a teacher, I just swelled with pride for a little bit.
Oh, well, there you go. So are we done with the chakra conversation, or do anybody have any other points to make on whether or not animals might have? I mean, I think we all agree that animals might have a far more complex set of chakras than maybe humans, or different than humans, not necessarily more complex or whatever than humans. But do you think though that animal chakras can get blocked and could be benefited from chakra healing?
It's anthropomorphizing animals is so ingrained into us that it's hard to separate that sometimes, I feel, for people. Disney didn't do anybody any favors making them cuter characters. So
yeah. Okay. You got something else?
No, I mean, I just also wanted to say we barely even scratched the surface of chakra.
Oh yeah.
And what it can mean.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
It was fun. So thank you all.
Good job.
I wonder what Stefan would have brought to the conversation, but we'll never know.
Beans and cheese.
Beans and cheese. Yeah.
No, you're not. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the hell out of this conversation. So, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't the three of us in this moment.
That's right.
Another conversation would have happened.
It would have not been this conversation.
No, this is happening on the other Earth in the parallel line.
It is. Yep. Except in that parallel Earth, I have longer hair. Yeah.
You're like 80s metal like metal hairband hair all the time, or
no, just
yes,
like the Hair Bear Bunny.
That came out weird. I tried to say it. It was like whoop.
and Stuart, in the other universe, you have a mouth mullet.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh,
so is this like
let's
some
pull
really,
out the banned phrases?
So it's just like a mouth mullet. Is that just like where?
So, it's from
To really long goatee, just straight down.
So a great movie on Netflix called The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm. I have not watched it yet, so please no spoilers.
Well, I'll just say that he makes a comment to a guy having a mouth mullet, which is basically like a goatee. So, but anyways, so moving on. The next topic that I had, I've been reading a lot, and Santosh, you've been talking to me a lot about removing the I, yourself, not thinking of the ego, and not just, but to look at yourself as not like. So I'll take myself for example. To not look at myself as Josh, or myself as a father, or myself as even an individual, that I am a part of a whole. But how do you remove the id in maybe a spiritual or astral path, but keep it for daily activities? Because I don't think you can go throughout daily activities without some sort of id.
Perhaps. I didn't say that I've gotten rid of mine. They group those, though, a similar concept called the kleshas, the 5 pains. And it starts out with liking, and then it's disliking. And then there is the sense of self, like the I-ness, and it culminates, like the 5th one is fear of death. And so you're encouraged to conquer that in that order, if you can, because ultimately that's what it would be. Like the truest lack of self is indifferent to death. And so it's a high ladder to climb, and I'm not there.
I don't think that I fear death. I fear the act of dying. I fear the pain associated with dying. So
I don't see how you said anything different.
Okay.
They seem the same to me.
Fearing death is fearing the end of existence.
Is it, Stuart? What do you say?
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I mean, I have not, that I know of, had a near-death experience. I had a pretty bad medical reaction that apparently almost put me into a coma, which is interesting because both the feeling in my body and when I didn't black out. My consciousness, I think, kind of left for a bit and went back in. I read a book by the Dalai Lama, and the Tibetan Buddhist school of thought believes that there's, I can't remember, I apologize, the number of stages of death. And I think the second one, the way the Dalai Lama himself describes that, felt very much the visual's not the right word here, but the way he kind of describes what the brain goes through. I went back and read this again. I'm rereading it now, and I apologize. Even the title of it is not coming to me right now. It's one of the older ones he wrote back in like 2004, 2006.
This is where Stefan would be shining right now.
Oh, I know, right? I was thinking the same thing. He'd probably be like, "It's probably this," and that, yeah. And
he loved the Buddhist school of thought.
I did not come. I do too. Did martial arts for roughly 6 years, and so that's school of martial arts was pretty heavily into Zen, not officially, but it was definitely there. And so I started. That's what got me on the path of reading some of this, and I've unfortunately forgotten more than. Hence why I'm revisiting it. The way he describes the second, I want to say, step of death, stage, if you will, is really similar to like the heavier vagal nerve response that your brain kind of has when you're going through something like that. So I've had people that are more steeped in all this than myself suggest maybe I was seeing the beginning of a death. And some people have even said that going into a coma is one of the stages. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. Going off that, I distinctly remember in this case, I had an allergic reaction potentially. We don't know. They just took me off that medication. They're like, nah, we're not attempting that again. I was in the hospital, so thankfully medically supervised. I was at no real risk, and I knew that. So maybe that's why there was no real fear per se. And it was a weird feeling, not particularly painful. I distinctly remember the thing I feared most is what I was leaving behind. Who would be affected? Honestly, I was weirdly at peace with it. That's just me. I was like, heck yeah, here we go. If it has to be the time, I get to find out what's next on the journey. But my very next, neurons were firing. This was probably all of like a few seconds, and then I came back to and was being hauled into a bed and have an IV stuck in me. But I was weirdly calm for myself. I was deeply worried. I'm like, my family's gonna freak out. My friends are gonna be like, what really happened? Who's gonna be blamed? You know, the doctor that prescribed said medications, a sleep medication, that basically made my heart rate just go to like way too low. I should have been unconscious and yet was still awake. Resting heart rate's what when you're asleep is. Does anybody know? Either of you know?
I mean, I think it's different by person, but yeah. It's
50, 60. Mine was, I think, close to 30s. So, and I was still fighting, staying conscious. So yeah, it was a weird experience, but because I didn't know what was going on. There was a moment where my brain said, "Am I dying?" And most people, I feel like, would react, holy crap, freak out. I didn't. If I was going to go that night, I was cool with that. I was freaking out more about, everybody left on. Yeah. That's really deep. I know.
No, love it.
Yeah.
Well, no, but we're ultimately now talking about the baggage surrounding death.
Right.
I mean, my guru always said yoga teaches you how to die well. And an interesting parallel between you're talking about like Buddhism and I think hit a bit of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where there are the different lokas that you go to, and they even mention liking and disliking. You go through heaven, or is it hell first, and then so you have to cross through hell first, all the things you don't like, and then you got to watch out because all the things you do like are in heaven, and that's sticky and it'll trap you there. And so in that same way, the yogic system with the kleshas, you've got to get around being ruled by the fact that you don't like something, and that you do like something, that you don't like some things. What does it all ultimately lead to? Who knows? But if a side effect is that you're not afraid of death, I think you've jumped ahead in the line. I don't think you've devalued what we're talking about. I think you've just skipped a bit in the line. Or it was done for you rather than done by you. That's the way I feel about drugs and enlightenment. Like, they'll take you there, but they don't teach you how to stay there.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, in my defense, there was, prescription. It wasn't like hey, I'm going to sit and do an insane amount of DMT. Not in my defense, but I'm saying like what you're saying. I would not have had that experience by choice at all. It was terrifying, for sure. But again, I wouldn't like. Was there a fear? Yes. Fear of the pain of death. So it's just interesting to me that my brother said that. I distinctly remember that not even really being a part of it. But again, I was, because of my heart rate being so low, I was losing feeling. Really, there was no.
Well, and I've read.
Take it back by all means.
I've read some places, and in Leslie Kean's book, Surviving Death, she talks about it, how at the moment of near death or at death, your body floods your brain with all these naturally body produced chemicals that basically dull your senses. So there is no actual pain that's felt by most people at the time of death, because they're so just flooded with all these different, I'm trying to think what's the one that makes you rage out and lift a car off your baby, adrenaline. So you're flooded with adrenaline and all these different types of drugs in your body, that it's really meant to protect your brain from the mental trauma of physical trauma. And so because of that, at the time of death, you don't actually feel. And that's what science thinks. Obviously, nobody's died and come back and told them, "Yep, I didn't feel anything." So, but yeah,
I haven't read up on it, but I saw somewhere that apparently there's some kind of study. I don't know how you measure this. Moments before somebody's death, maybe somebody said, "Yes, by all means, hook me up to biofeedback, whatever nodes." Apparently, they have the trope that your life flashes before your eyes. We have recently, they've recently proven that in some way, shape, or form. And you know what? I knew I was going to be on this show, and that was going to be a cool little factoid. I should have 100% done a deep dive on that and come better prepared.
Well, you never know what's going to come up on the show, though. So.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know if we've discussed DMT on the show yet or not, but yeah,
it's made an appearance a couple of times, but we've never actually gone deep into it. I'm really interested in DMT because I understand that your body actually produces small amounts of it by itself, and so.
And it's said that major meditators, those that have meditated over like 10,000 hours, kind of thing, are able to mess with that float.
Oh, really?
Too.
It said that a monk could control their levels of it.
Yeah, control your own trip. I've done it to a sort of degree. I've had some semi-success with that, at least enough where it was addictive to the point where it was affecting my outer life. Not exactly in the most positive ways, but causing an effect.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I part of me. So, for a lot of my experiments, right, the things that we've done.
Please tell us about your experiments, but don't make us us a party to any illegalness.
No, like if we go out and do a CA5, or if we go out in the woods and try to find Bigfoot, or we're out UFO watching and stuff, a lot of those things, I don't even drink or anything because if I see something, I don't want to call into question whether or not it was actually happening or it was some other thing influencing my visual or perception or whatever the case may be. So, like for me, I want to rule everything out that I can as being a contributor to whatever I see. And so where
does caffeine hit on that scale for you?
I mean, that's a good question because that is a good question because usually when we go out late at night to do those things, I have like a triple shot of, Starbucks or something to try to stay awake. And an extreme tiredness, I'm sure, would have an impact on my experience as well. And so,
I've only done sober for a little while. Like it's hard. Like true sobriety was harder than I could manage for a while.
But
so not even caffeine is what Santouch is saying.
Well, there are certain schools of thought in yogic thought you don't eat spicy things because you don't want to aggravate the system. You want to keep it in the sattvic level where it's neutral and not agitated in one way or the other. But what you eat affects what you meditate, because that meditation takes its own sort of energy.
Yeah, I know when sorry, go ahead, Santouch. I thought you were done.
Don't worry about it. That went right out of my head. You were perfect.
Okay. When I was reading through the documentation that comes along with the Gateway Experience audio, it says in there, don't have consumed any caffeinated beverage within an hour of it sitting down for a Gateway Experience, because either maybe it's the caffeine keeps your brain awake and you can't quiet it for meditation purposes, or whatever other potential cases there. But I've never thought about, does caffeine have some sort of an impact on like the visual cortex or something like that? Would it cause you to potentially see things or hallucinate if you had too much caffeine?
I think our species has been looking for ways to hallucinate as long as it's been a species.
Yeah. I mean, here's a thought. Maybe hallucination is the closest we could get to the reality of interstellar travel. because we are truly the interstellar traveling species. We are the first aliens.
The first, I don't know about that.
On the Earth.
I don't know about that either.
Okay.
I hear you, but
yeah.
I feel like that depends greatly on what kind of hallucination and what.
Right, because that's the difference for me. And like psychedelics are different than what is it called, trial? Like it's where it's all about like surviving. It's an ordeal trial. And some other things push your system to that point where you're just like, am I going to die from this? No. Does anything else matter? No, the fuck it doesn't. Or at least that's where I was able to go with like Sweat Lodge. I'm like, it scares you back into the real matter of, does this aid me or not? And I feel like those are different destinations to the island of altered state. I need to probably make
also,
a better
like,
metaphor, but
I feel like hallucinations brought on by extreme sleep deprivation.
Ooh, classics.
That is probably. I used to have insomnia from time to time. When I was in college, I had like 2 months where I had severe insomnia and started to have like borderline Freddy Krueger, like Nightmare on Elm Street level micro naps. And it was kind of terrifying. I would very much like to think that wasn't me piercing some kind of veil and that anything I was experiencing was even real in a multiverse. Probably my brain just trying to make sense of the input of daily life when I really should have been catching up on sleep.
Piercing a veil or inflating a possibility in the astral. I think I side with the latter.
Okay.
All right.
I could see that.
but I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there with you whenever you were going.
Yeah.
Where you were going, you could have went anywhere. I think dreams are sort of our doorway to many types of experiences, and we just lump them all into dream and sleep. And I think,
to bring it back around, I'll admit that a lot of that was brought on by extreme caffeine dependency. I had major caffeine addiction back then. Still haven't really given it up, honestly, but I'm not half as bad as I was in college.
Will it be bad if I say I like Coke? I like caffeine better than Coke.
Meaning you would rather drink coffee? I don't understand. Like you'd like.
Actually, I thought, wow, I just said a phrase that could be interpreted so many different ways. And
yes, you did. I was thinking like soda or cocaine.
I'm gonna leave it right where it was. The imp in me was like,
I'm not gonna lie. My brain immediately went there. I was like, does he mean soda or does he mean cocaine?
Yeah. I don't know. All right. So, yeah. Any kind of closing thoughts on?
Put it on a t-shirt.
What's that?
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's my thought right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I did have one last topic. We're coming up on 50 minutes though, which will make it a long episode. I can either save it for next time or we can go ahead and jump into it.
I mean, I'm here.
Okay. So last one. Reiki.
Okay. That's kind of unfair for you to bring up when Stefan's not here, but okay, let's go for it.
I say I have to bow out on this.
So when you Reiki someone or a specific part of them, or we talked about how the energy goes wherever it's needed. Is there a different level of Reikiing the energy body versus the physical body?
One could argue that's the second symbol.
Okay.
But as we've discussed, I think all are wrapped up into the first symbol. Just like you have earth, air, fire, and water. Well, technically earth has all of that on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so depending on whatever you're plugging into. and how you set it up. Which is the same thing, like to wrap it back around with we're talking about like afterlife and death. I think that many possibilities exist because it's all us coping for however long it takes before transitioning on to whatever is really afterlife.
So I had a thought, and this is probably what you just said with coping, but at the end of the day, is it really just all constructs created by our mind to process the experiences that we're having?
Oh, you forget I'm an optimistic nihilist. Nothing. There is no good. There is no bad. There is no right. There is no wrong. Nothing has meaning inherent within it, except for the things that you ascribe meaning to. That's my opinion. That's why I choose optimism. I choose silliness.
Yeah.
They make me feel better. I've had too much of the others dished out. So
I think we should probably all choose optimism. We'd probably be a much better people for it.
I mean, we need pragmatists out there too, though, you know. Party poopers helps in their own way. They keep the ecological system of ideas alive. They test your resolve.
What if it was like 80-20? You know, like 80%,
like hamburger?
80%. Like hamburger and horse. I don't know, 80-20. Only if you eat McDonald's.
I'm not gonna knock it till I try it.
So,
yeah, I found I like a variety of them.
I was reading about armadillos the other day.
Armadillo, oh my god!
And in the 1930s, during the Great Depression,
armadillo soup.
People ate armadillos a lot because there was such a meat shortage during the Great Depression. It was called like roadkill stew or something. Yeah, but yeah.
I think in the South we just call that burgoo.
Yeah, that's whatever meat you got.
Whatever you got. Yep. Throw it in, whatever you got, throw it in the pot.
And that country myth of eating possums.
Yeah.
So
all right. Well,
we've come around to eating possum.
Yeah. So, time to wrap
the
this
natural
up.
conclusion of the events we set up. These dominoes have led us right here.
So yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in for another episode of Astral Stew. You can find it as a podcast now, available on all your podcast streaming networks. As well, you can go to fearscapemedia.com, see all the other shows and podcasts that are available in the Fearscape Media Network. And we've got some Astral Stew merch in the Fearscape Media store. If you go to fearscapemedia.com/store. And Santosh, where can they find all your stuff?
SantoshDavid.com. And then across most social media platforms at SantoshDavid333.
And you've got every week you've got Psychic Sleep.
Oh, yeah, I'm like the thing that I do. Yeah, Sunday nights. Hey, you know what? Also, pat on the back. If it comes out, this comes out next month, then it'll be 2 years of doing that. Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, that I've been doing it for 2 years now. So that anniversary is coming up, and the tarot journey that I pushed into the Psychic Sleep experience as a marketing thing. I'm over 98 weeks into drawing these things, and we've got 4 weeks left before I've drawn my character Lancel Otter, drawn him through the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. And each time I pull a random tarot generator, card generator, pulls them up, and I write a little spiel about it off the top of my head, and then that influences what happens that Sunday night. So you kind of get a preview of what it's going to be like, but all of them are unscripted. That's part of the charm. And like I joked about us, this happened because of the three of us and our energies together, and couldn't have been any other way. Like, just to talk a lot of woo about it.
Yeah.
Showing up makes the difference. Blah blah blah. I'm rambling now.
That's all right. And Stuart, where can they find you?
You know what? I've been asking myself that question quite a bit.
Yes.
I have not a lot of even social media presence, so good luck.
Yeah, you can find Stuart playing D&D at his friend's house every other weekend.
Heck
right?
yeah.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for sticking around. Make sure you subscribe, ring that bell, smash that like button, and catch us next time on Astral Stew. Good night,
I still
everybody.
don't have a byline.